Let's be clear, Apple really did fall behind. When Apple Intelligence was announced in 2024, the centerpiece was supposed to be a dramatically more personal Siri. Siri would understand what was happening on your screen, search through your personal information, and perform actions across different apps. You could ask something like, "When is my mom's flight arriving?" And Siri could theoretically find the flight number in messages, check the latest arrival time, and compare it with the lunch reservation in your email. That was the vision. But Apple couldn't deliver it on schedule. The company eventually admitted that the features were taking longer than expected. Behind the scenes, Apple abandoned the incremental approach and rebuilt Siri around a new AI architecture. For a company famous for announcing products only when they are nearly ready, this was unusually messy. But the delay also forced Apple to make a much more important decision. It had to choose between trying to beat OpenAI and Google at their own game or change the game entirely. Apple chose the second option. Now, most people measure the AI race using model benchmarks. Which chatbot writes the best code? Which one answers the hardest questions? Which company has the largest model? By that scoreboard, Apple is still behind. But consumers rarely choose technology based purely on technical benchmarks. The most successful technology is often the technology with the best distribution, the easiest interface, and the deepest integration into everyday life. For example, the iPod wasn't the first MP3 player. The iPhone wasn't the first smartphone. Apple Watch wasn't the first smartwatch. Apple's advantage has traditionally come from arriving after the technology becomes possible, and then turning that technology into a product ordinary people will eventually use. AI may be following the same pattern. ChatGPT proved that people want access to artificial intelligence. Apple's plan is to make that intelligence useful without requiring people to open a chatbot, copy information into it, explain their situation, and paste that answer somewhere else. In other words, AI companies are competing to build the best destination while Apple already owns the road. Considering how much context your iPhone already has, it already contains years of photos, messages, emails, location, purchases, activity. A traditional chatbot knows only what you tell it. But your phone potentially understands the context surrounding your entire digital life. This is Apple's real AI advantage. Now you may be asking about privacy concerns. We will come back to that. The new Siri's architect is designed to combine three things: personal context, awareness of what is currently on your screen, and the ability to perform actions inside apps. Imagine looking at a message containing an address and simply saying, "Add this to the invitation," or finding a photograph by describing the conversation in which someone sent it to you, or asking Siri to edit an image, attach it to an email, and send it to the person you are currently talking to. None of these tasks requires a model capable of solving graduate-level mathematics. They require something much harder for Apple's competitors to replicate: secure access to your operating system. ChatGPT can become incredibly intelligent, but unless you grant it deep control over your device, it remains an app. But Apple controls the device and the whole ecosystem. Here is the most important part of Apple's plan. Apple isn't betting everything on one enormous model. It is building a system that can choose between different models depending on the task. Simple requests can be processed directly on the device. More difficult requests can be sent to Apple's private cloud compute infrastructure. And for the most demanding jobs, Apple can use larger models developed with outside partners. Apple's third-generation model family was created in collaboration with Google. Its most capable cloud model can run using NVIDIA hardware inside Google Cloud, but within infrastructure designed to preserve Apple's privacy requirements. That sounds like Apple surrendering the AI race to Google. But strategically, it may be the opposite. Training frontier models is very expensive, and leaderships can change every few months. By treating models as interchangeably components, Apple doesn't have to bet the entire iPhone on whichever company temporarily has the smartest model. It can build some models itself, license technology from Google, and potentially connect other specialized models in the future. The model becomes a supplier. Apple keeps the control of the interface, the customer, the relationships, the personal context, and the operating system. Apple used a similar strategy with search. Google provided much of the underlying technology, while Apple controlled how hundreds of millions of iPhone owners access it. Its AI strategy could be even more powerful. Apple isn't trying to own every brain. It is trying to become the operating system for all of them. Processing personal context creates an obvious problem. To become genuinely useful, an AI assistant may need to access some of the most sensitive information in your life. Apple believes privacy can become its biggest competitive advantage. Whenever possible, Apple Intelligence processes requests directly on the device. For more complex tasks, private cloud compute is designed so that the personal data is not stored or made accessible to Apple. Apple also publishes software information that allows outside security researchers to inspect aspects of the system. Of course, these are Apple's claims, and they deserve independent investigation, especially now that the parts of the system involve Google and NVIDIA infrastructure. But the large strategic point remains. Other AI companies often ask users to upload more information into their platforms. Apple can argue that your information is already on your device, and that its AI can use that context without permanently handling to an advertising company or chatbot providers. If consumers eventually want AI to read their messages, organize their photos, understand their health, and operate the device, trust may become just as important as intelligence. Now, Apple's next advantage is developers. Through its foundation models framework, Apple allows developers to use its on-device model inside their own apps. That means a fitness app can generate personalized workout advice. A journaling app can create prompts based on recent entries. A productivity app can turn a vague goal into an organized project. And because these tasks can run locally, developers may not need to pay for every request sent to an outside AI server. This could quietly create an ecosystem of AI features across the App Store. Instead of asking users to choose one assistant, Apple can place intelligence inside thousands of apps they already use, and the system becomes more valuable with every developer that adopts it. Apple also has a path to monetize, meaning making money. Some server-intensive features already have usage limits, with increased access included in many iCloud Plus plans. So Apple Intelligence may eventually help sell new devices, strengthen the App Store, and increase recurring service revenue, all at the same time. Then there is one more thing: Apple's most unfair advantage: scale. Apple says its inactive installed base has grown beyond 2.5 billion devices. Not all of those devices support Apple Intelligence, but every year more compatible iPhones, iPads, Macs, watches, and other products enter the ecosystem. Apple does not need to convince people to visit a new website or download a separate chatbot. It can place AI in the operating system update screen. One day, hundreds of millions of people could wake up, update their phones, and discover the assistant they already use has become dramatically more capable. This is what the benchmark conversation misses. The winner of consumer AI may not be the company with the smartest model. It may be the company capable of putting useful AI in front of most people with the least amount of friction. And nobody controls consumer distribution quite like Apple. None of this guarantees a victory. Apple still has to make Siri reliable. A deeply integrated assistant that misunderstands commands could be more frustrating intimidating and more dangerous than a chatbot sitting inside a separate app. Its privacy architect must also survive serious independent testing. Dependence on Google creates another risk. If the most important intelligence comes from a competitor, Apple could struggle to differentiate its assistant. Compatibility is also limited to newer hardware, which leaves many existing customers behind. And regulatory disputes mean Siri AI will not initially have the same availability on every device. Apple has said that the iPhone version will not initially launch in the European Union, while Apple Intelligence remains unavailable in China as the company works through regulatory requirements. Most importantly, Apple damaged its trust with customers when it marketed compatibilities that did not arrive on time. The next version of Siri cannot simply look impressive in a demonstration, it has to work. So will Apple win the AI race? If the race is to build the world's most powerful foundation model, probably not. Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and others are moving too quickly and spending too much for Apple to easily dominate that contest. But Apple may be aiming for something far more valuable. It wants to control the layer between AI and your life. The device that holds your context, the operating system that controls your apps, the interface that decides which model receives your request, and the ecosystem through which developers bring AI to billions of people. Apple can outsource parts of the intelligence while keeping control of the experience. This is the secret plan. While everyone else fights to build the biggest brain, Apple is building the nervous system around it. And if AI eventually becomes invisible, woven into every message, photograph, app, and device, Apple won't need you to believe it won the AI race. You'll simply be using its AI all day without thinking about it. And that may be the most Apple way to win imaginable. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, leave a comment, and like this video. I'll see you in the next one.